Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome back to the Macaw Podcast universe, and we are hitting it again. We are deep in the throes of Marvel. We're in phase
Forever and
3.
always.
Yeah, in some ways it will be forever and always because we will continue to cover the series as they come out with new movies. And as far as we know, there's no reason for them to stop making them ever. So this podcast will probably end, we'll probably die, and they'll still probably be making the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So this is the third and final, as of now, Thor movie. And there is going to be a fourth, and then
Natalie Portman will be back for some reason.
Yeah, which is really weird.
But there's no Earth stuff in this one.
Yeah, which is what, if you remember, if you forget, we have 2 other episodes, both Thor movies, and our biggest problems with both of those movies is how they have this Earth stuff that's just not very good, and it's boring.
And it's so heavily based on science, but a version of science where it's like, I'm a normal person, I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. And there's not enough time in a movie.
That's got to be your biggest complaint with this series.
Probably. The Thor and the Ant-Man stuff.
Yeah.
That's my biggest complaint.
Yeah. But I'm going to kick it off. It's episode 3 of Thor Ragnarok. And this one is directed by Taika Waititi. And this is his first big budget, like really big budget movie. He's done such films as Eagle vs. Shark, Boy, What We Do in the Shadows. And then the movie he did before this was Hunt for the Wilder People. And then he did this movie.
Was he involved in Flight of the Conchords at all?
I think he may have written a couple of episodes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And then we have produced by Kevin Feige. It is written by Eric Pearson, who writes for Agent Carter, or wrote for, I don't know if that show's done. And some of the Marvel one-shots, which if you're not familiar with those were just like short films they made that are in the same universe. Craig Kyle, who does a bunch of cartoon Marvel shows like Wolverine.
Oh, that's cool.
Wolverine and X-Men, Planet Hulk, Ultimate Avenger. And then we have Christopher L. Yost, who also does, I think they might be writing partners, Christopher Yost and Craig Kyle. They do a bunch of those cartoon Marvel shows. Just kind of, I thought that was fascinating that they graduated from like the cartoon Marvel to the movies. And I guess in some ways,
bet some people wouldn't say graduated, depending on who you're talking to.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess in some ways, this is kind of the most cartoony of the movies.
It feels like a video game.
Yeah.
Especially the score.
Yes, which leads me right into the music, which is by Mark Mothersbaugh, or Mothersbaugh. And
Mothersbaugh.
He did the score for Disenchantment, the show on Netflix.
The Matt Groening show.
Yes, Matt Groening.
Simpsons. Pooh.
And then he does What We Do in the Shadows. He did Regular Show, the movie.
No way. I bet it's like really synth. Like if I.
Oh, it is. It is. Yeah. Because remember, all of Regular Show is like synth stuff.
Yeah.
Which Regular Show, huge recommend. One of the best shows
out
ever.
there.
Oh, dang it. Ever out there. And had a genuinely tearful series finale that was actually beyond just funny and goofy. It was a beautiful moment of television.
Did we finish that show together, or did I watch the end? And
you
then
finished
I watched it
again.
again.
I watched
and you
it.
cried a little bit.
I did cry. Cinematography, Javier Agurresorobe. Aguirresarobe. He did the cinematography for The Promise, the new Poltergeist movie, Blue Jasmine, Twilight Saga Eclipse, and New Moon. And he's done a bunch of others, but those were just some notable ones. Production.
So he is like really good, like at making people look really pale and glittery if need be.
Yes.
That's on his resume, I'm sure.
Yes, that is on his resume. I was reading his resume. I don't know why he sent it to me because I don't have any jobs for him, but I have a couple of ideas. Production company, again, Marvel Studios, distributed by Walt Disney. And the movie comes out November 3rd, 2017. So almost 2 years ago.
Wow. Feels like it just came out still.
Yeah. And then production budget, this is $180 million. And we got box office.
That's all?
That's so much. We got
joking.
box office of $315,058,289. Worldwide, I didn't add the two numbers together. I just put the domestic and then the separate worldwide, which is it made.
Just give us a roundup.
$538,918,837. So that's somewhere around $900 million. It makes 800 high 800s.
Oh, by the way, I was going to tell you this off mic, but I will. This isn't the thing that I wrote down. I was watching.
That's a secret.
It's a Shrek related.
Oh, okay.
I was watching The Office today, and I was watching the PDA episode with Michael and Holly, which is probably season 7. Don't quote me on that, Veronica. And it's when Gabe is sent Aaron on a treasure hunt for Valentine's Day.
Don't remember that.
Oh, no, that's a different one. I watched a couple episodes today.
Okay.
So I watched the one where Gabe and Aaron are playing Words with Friends.
Okay.
And whoever wins gets to pick the movies, and Gabe keeps picking horror movies because he keeps winning because Aaron's bad at the game. And the movie ends with Gabe winning, and she really wanted to watch WALL-E, and he's like, well, let's watch this robot monster thing. It's kind of like WALL-E. And then Andy comes up to her and is like, I heard you guys talk about movies, and I just finished this one the other day, and I thought you'd really like it, Aaron. And it was Shrek 2. And I remember always thinking like, oh, that's silly because they're both just very simple, like dumb people or something like that. But then today I'm like, good recommendation, Andy. It's a very long.
It's a funny, thing. Like goofy recommendation though. It's a sequel.
They're both like, adults.
Yeah, like to recommend Shrek 2 out of all the Shrek movies.
But the part of the joke is she's like, there's a second one.
Oh,
so she's really excited to watch it.
That's funny.
And then Gabe's just like, what a great guy.
And if you just hopped in, the reason we talked about that is because we just covered the Shrek series, which you can listen to all of it right now. We did a pretty good job.
And they're pretty dang good besides one.
Well, besides 3. The number 3, but one movie.
Yeah. Sorry. Okay, back on track.
Okay. Now, I know you don't guess budgets or anything like that. You're so anti that. But do you want to take a stab at how much Hemsworth was paid to play Thor in this movie?
Give me a comparison. Like, what was Robert Downey Jr. paid for The Last Avengers? Or for...
I don't know, but I think he's in the 20s.
Even at this time? Probably, especially.
Robert Downey?
Yeah.
I think so, but I'm not 100%.
So let's say he gets paid $15 million.
$15 million?
Wow.
Nice, you nailed it.
No one can touch you, Robert. No one can touch you.
And then I wanted to throw this out there because I think this is kind of fascinating. So Alan Taylor was the director of Thor: The Dark World, and he had a quote about the movie. So if you remember, listener and Jordan, you remember there was kind of this whole narrative where it's like they had the build-up to Avengers Phase 1, and then in Phase 2 there was kind of trouble in paradise. You know, you had Edgar Wright leaving the project. You had Joss Whedon not being happy with Avengers. So you had this kind of thing where everyone was kind of like, Marvel's not letting us be directors.
Yeah.
Or tell the stories we want to tell. So Alan Taylor, who directed Thor: The Dark World, when he was promoting his newest movie at the time, Terminator Genesis, which has the worst...
But the one with Christian Bale.
No.
The one after that.
It's the one that is everyone hated, and it had Emilia Clarke in it, and it has the worst title in the world because it's like Genisys.
Yeah. What's the one with Christian Bale?
That's Salvation.
Right.
This Emilia Clarke is the girl from Game of Thrones and Solo.
Oh, she's Khaleesi.
Yeah.
The one character I remember from Game of Thrones.
So anyway, so the director had this to say: the Marvel experiences were particularly wrenching because I was sort of given absolute freedom while we were shooting, and then in post it turned into a different movie. So that is something I hope never to repeat, and I don't wish upon anybody else.
Whoa, interesting.
But what's kind of funny is like looking at his track record for movies, I personally don't find him a very intriguing director. So I'm kind of like, okay, in my opinion, I'm like, they probably saved the movie from sucking worse. Because I don't like his movies.
You always have to think too, because now they're getting more interesting directors to do Marvel movies. Or that's how it seems, I guess is what I'll say.
Yeah.
You always have to remember that if it weren't for the past movies, they never would have gotten to this point. At least I think so. Because obviously the whole franchise, it didn't start with them being like, let's get the edgiest directors currently. Because I think the movie started at a time when people didn't pay as much attention to directors. But today, people are paying more attention.
Yeah.
That's my sense of society. I could be wrong. But that's the sense that I'm getting.
I think people are always paying attention to directors. It's just our generation was finally getting there.
Yeah.
And I think that's something to kind of talk about too, is that when they get to phase 3, it seems like they choose a lot of indie directors. So like Taika, John Watts, who does Spider-Man.
James Gunn, I mean.
Well, he was in phase 2. But he
you're
was
thinking
still
of phase 3.
Yeah, I'm talking specifically phase 3. The 2 directors for Captain Marvel, I don't remember their names. And then Black Panther, Ryan Coogler. You have just a lot of kind of people who are just like thrown into the big leagues. Although Ryan Coogler had done Creed, which is a pretty big movie.
That's what I thought. I thought that he'd done that. Interesting. Yeah.
So what I was all of that to say. It seems like they take this weird indie approach, which I think in some ways is really good because a lot of indie directors are really in touch with characters. But in other ways, for example, this movie, I think Taika isn't super suited to the action in the movies and also like just the basic lore of Thor. He doesn't seem to be interested in. So all the fun like buddy comedy stuff with him and Hulk is all really, really well done and is really interesting. But the stuff that happens on Asgard and stuff, it doesn't feel like it has the gravitas of maybe a more weathered director.
Yeah, and I've only really seen What We Do in the Shadows in terms of his stuff. But you've seen other stuff that he's in, right?
I've seen Eagle vs. Shark and I think one other, but I can't remember.
He's very concerned with character.
Yeah. Which is a great asset to have.
Yeah.
But, I mean, really, in all the movies all those directors... No, not all. Never mind. I was going to make a sweeping statement that I don't think is accurate. But anyway, I just think that's interesting. They kind of take that approach, and then you have all these quotes, especially in these first like 3 or 4 movies in phase 3, where the directors are like, I actually had a great time. I didn't have any problems with Marvel. So you can tell Marvel's kind of changing their stance. And I think that's a good, hopeful thing. To me, that maybe indicates that maybe in phase 4, they're going to be even more creative.
You also have to remember, too, and I know you're not making a sweeping statement. I know that. But some people just don't work well with other people. So there are people who have made movies for Marvel who might feel that way when if another director had done it at that time, they probably would have had a different opinion about it.
Yeah. And I think...
But what you're saying, like, I agree with you. You know what I mean? But, like, say phase 4 happens and it gets even more like that, which I agree. I think it will just get more like that. There will still be, when you look at IMDb at the news, you'll still see, like, creative differences stuff. Because people don't work well together.
Well, and what I was going to specifically say about phase 4, kind of my prediction, is I think, especially as we get to the later part of phase 4, I think the movies are going to start... visually not looking so similar.
Yeah.
Because they're kind of diversifying with like Doctor Strange, Guardians, and then this movie too looks pretty different, but there's still a basic like language there. And I think in phase 4 they're gonna kind of... I really think that the Eternals next year is gonna be a weird movie. That's what I hope it's gonna be. I hope it's maybe a movie that like not everyone loves, because everyone seems to usually like at least like the movie.
Yeah,
like their movies. It'd be cool if they maybe were a little bit out there with it.
Yeah.
So speaking of which, so Kevin Feige was talking about why they chose Taika.
Oh, interesting. I was hoping you had something about this.
Yes. So on Thor Ragnarok, for instance, we shared with filmmakers the 10 different ideas that we had for the movie. And that was not a movie, but was just sort of blue sky thoughts. And then they would go away and come back and try to turn that into a movie. So they shared it to a bunch of people.
Okay, the producers did.
Kevin Feige, yeah. And then they're like, come back and give us your ideas and we're going to kind of choose. And Taika, he made a sizzle reel, which a sizzle reel is when you take footage from other movies.
Oh, and make like one movie?
And make like your ideas for it.
Oh, I've never heard of that before. That's cool.
I think he says, Feige says, we don't always encourage, and oftentimes they can be really terrible. But Taika did a version that was really good, and in it he had the Immigrant Song from Led Zeppelin.
Okay.
So he kind of like put that thesis in there, and it sounds like, because I watched an interview with Taika, and it sounds like he was like, no, I can do this. Like, I'm going to do this. And he was interested in kind of putting his foot on a bigger budget and trying something to this scale. So that's how he got the job. He did a sizzle reel.
Cool.
Which is fascinating.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
And then a quote from Taika, which is, again, something we got to talk about. It's crazy. A lot of what we're doing with this film is, in a way, kind of dismantling and destroying the old idea and rebuilding it in a new way that's fresh. Everyone's got a slight new take on their character, so in that way, it feels like this is the first Thor. Do you have any thoughts on that statement?
I don't know about it being a first Thor. I just genuinely don't know. But I do think that it is interesting in the movie where, like, like Asgard's under, attack. Shocker there. And so Thor, like, needs to save it, which is kind of the thing. I mean, he's a superhero. It's how it goes. But what I like about it is that he doesn't save what he thinks of as Asgard. Like, movie ends and he kind of thinks he failed,
Yeah.
But then Idris Elba, I don't remember his character's name.
Heimdall.
Idris Elba's character told him that that's not Asgard.
Yeah.
I like that message of it, and that feels unconventional for a superhero movie.
Yeah.
Movie, not comic book, because I'm sure that's all over comic books and
probably.
stuff. But I like that kind of thing, flipping that on its head a little bit, just being so concerned about saving what he thinks he's saving when it's like he actually did win.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's even like is what he's talking about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for what I get from it, and I guess I just think that this movie does have like such a tone shift from Thor 1 and 2 that it feels kind of like when someone reboots a franchise. I mean, and that's kind of what it is, where they're like, okay, we're going to get rid of some of the fluff that we don't like, and let's get it started. Like, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And in some ways, I really like that. I do like the humor aspect. I like the Immigrant Song. But there is kind of a weird disconnect, I think, between the other two movies, and I can't quite reconcile it. I do think this is the best Thor movie, but we still haven't got a great Thor movie. I think this is going to be a little controversial because most people really love this movie.
But how many people have rewatched it?
Yeah.
That's the question, I think, is how many people have rewatched it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I keep burping. We shouldn't be drinking LaCroix while we're recording.
But I think that it's good and it's fine if people really like it. But I again, rewatchability, it does kind of go down each time, I think, for me.
I think one thing that's interesting, if you could, because the movie's much funnier, and a lot of that's because of Taika.
Yeah. And I think they improvised a lot on set.
Which is cool. And what I think is funny about that, if you think about it in terms of the world, like, so he was in Age of Ultron, right?
Who?
Thor.
Yes.
And then that ended, and then this is the next time we see him. Like, he just goes home.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't go home. How does this movie start again?
The movie starts with him. He's been out.
Oh, okay. He's been
in the hellscape.
He's been doing Thor stuff, just not on Earth.
Yeah.
Okay. What's interesting though, because the first two movies, especially Avengers, like, he has been integrated into human society, most specifically American society. And what's interesting is, like, his first two movies, like, they have your basic Marvel humor, but not from him. Like, he doesn't really have a sense of humor. Really?
His humor is more fish out of water.
Yes.
Than it is
this movie,
characteristic.
Very different. He has a sense of humor now. It feels improvisational and stuff. And I think if you think about it, it's kind of fun to think like, oh, he's Americanized.
Yeah.
In a way. I just think that's interesting to, like, in a way it'll be like, that's why this movie's funnier than the other ones.
Well, more like he's New Zealandized.
Well, that's true, but it's like, how could it not be funnier?
Yeah.
Because of the other ones.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. And I'm only speaking to
I think I'm not tracking on this idea.
Okay.
Can you try say it again?
I gotta put my phone on Do Not Disturb. I just think that his other movies aren't that funny. They always try to make them very folklore Lord of the Ringsy.
Yes.
I think.
Yes.
Besides the Dumb Earth stuff.
Yeah.
This movie, very funny. And let's just ignore the fact that it's directed by a comedy director.
Okay.
I think it's funny to think that it's like, how could it not be funnier each time? Because he has been Americanized. Thor has been Americanized.
Oh, the character.
The character Thor
I see what you're saying.
has been Americanized.
Yes.
He's like developed. It's kind of like Drax. He's like developed a sense of humor. In a way.
I like that.
And I think that like if he was the same Thor the whole time, it would not be. It would be not as good of a movie.
Yes. Okay, I track with you. Way to go. Thanks for sticking it out until I could understand. We're still not even done with my. You get done
with the production notes.
I'm almost done. So the movie happens 4 years after Thor 2, 2 years after Ultron, and around the same time as Civil War and Homecoming. Inspiration was he quoted 48 Hours, which is like a cop buddy movie. Oh no, I did a misquote, so I don't know. It says With Nail and I don't know what that is.
You watched it with a nail?
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Wait, who's doing this?
Taika.
Okay.
These were like inspirations, and I'm assuming this is between like the Hulk and him relationship. And
can you turn your phone off or something?
Is my phone going off?
We're in a text thread with your family.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Sorry, it's driving me nuts.
And then Flash Gordon was another inspiration on the movie. That movie. Director runtime was 2 hours and 40 minutes, and then it was cut to 90 minutes.
Whoa!
And then after Comic-Con, they tested some of the jokes, and Comic-Con people like really liked that, and then they extended the runtime back to 2 hours and 10 minutes. Originally, the Gauntlet. So in this movie, Cate Blanchett goes into this museum of architects, and she's saying everything's fake. So the Gauntlet, the Infinity Gauntlet, is shown in Thor 1. I didn't catch it when we watched it.
Oh, you didn't?
Or maybe I did. Did I?
It was so long ago, but I'm pretty sure you and I were like, wait, what?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So then...
and I think we were like, it's just got to be an Easter egg.
Yes.
Don't think about it.
Yeah, and so then... So the Gauntlet made an appearance in the original Thor. So the whole reason they did that whole scene was just so that Cate Blanchett could knock it over and say it's fake. Because now that they were doing they were having Thanos do his whole thing, they had to get rid of it so that he didn't have to go there and pick it up. Oh, that's the whole reason
they did that scene?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Just to explain it away, basically. And then there was a person on... Yeah, this is funny. So there was a person on set that was painted green to stand in for the Hulk.
Mm-hmm. Painted? They didn't put him in a suit?
Yeah. And then they had a 5-foot person stand next to... be a stand-in for Thor... so that they could get the proportions with the man that was painted green. So that's all my production notes, Jordan. Are you happy?
Makes you wonder how much those people get paid.
Probably just whatever like their daily income is. Like they probably just get paid a wage.
Whatever if they're like SAG or something.
Yeah, which is probably still a nice wage.
Yeah, but it's long hours.
Oh yeah.
Okay, well. A weird picture. I have not done much and shocker, right? That I haven't done notes or anything. However, this movie doesn't have much of an additional cast, kind of like Guardians 2. But you have, I'll start with Tessa Thompson, who is in Creed and Creed 2.
Mm-hmm.
She's also in I think the last episode of Portlandia.
Okay.
She is in a lot of TV. And, wow, like a lot of TV. She's in the movie Selma. She is in one episode of BoJack Horseman, I guess.
Whoa.
And then...
Sorry to Bother You,
which came out after this.
Yeah.
So her first acting credit is 2005. How old is she? She is, I'm just curious, 1983. So she's in her 30s. But yeah, she's been in Men in Black 2. That's like the last thing she was in. Terrible acting choice.
Men in Black.
Oh, Men in Black 4.
Yeah.
Whatever. With Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I didn't think of... Yeah.
Oh, she's in Westworld, too.
I knew that they were both in Thor, but I didn't think about how, like, they're both partners in Thor at a certain point, and partners in Men in Black. That didn't cross my mind.
Okay, so that's Tessa Thompson. She's becoming a household name. She's very popular.
Oh, yeah.
Then you have Jeff Goldblum, who plays Grandmaster. And I mean, do we need to say any of his acting credits?
Could you just hit with like the last two?
Well, from Jurassic Park.
No, the last like two movies he was in before this.
No, I know what you mean.
He steals the show in this movie. And Hemsworth is doing great, and so is Tessa Thompson, but Jeff Goldblum steals the show. He's worth the price of admission alone.
There is this thing called Peanuts in Space. Peanuts,
like Charlie Brown?
Yes. Secrets of Apollo 10. This is the description. Ron Howard and Jeff Goldblum discussed the 1969 NASA Apollo 10 mission that featured a lunar module named Snoopy skimming around the moon's surface in preparation for the Apollo 11 moon's landing. Does that make sense to you?
So it's just because they named it Snoopy?
I don't
why it's
get
called
it.
Peanuts in Space?
I don't know.
Okay, that's enough acting credits from him because that's too weird. Let's just let that simmer.
He's in The Mountain, which is a Rick Alverson movie.
Okay.
With Ty Sheridan.
Yeah, that came out this year, right?
Yeah. Micah and I saw Jeff Goldblum in Hawaii.
That's true. Yeah, we were in Hawaii and he has a jazz band and we were at this was in May.
Yeah.
And he was going to play a set that night and we were wanting to get tickets but we weren't sure. It was really expensive. And then as we were walking out of the hotel, we walked by him and he was with his wife and a couple of kids. Mm-hmm. And
he had just gotten there, he sold his suitcase, talking to talking to a guy dressed as Santa Claus. Mind you, this is May.
Yeah.
So it's a Hawaiian Santa Claus.
Summer Hawaii Santa Claus.
Yeah. So we like walk by, we're like, oh my gosh, that's Jeff Goldblum. And it's like, he's with his family. Just like, based on his suitcase, he just got here.
Yeah, we don't want to mess with him.
Yeah. So we just continue walking while staring at him like everyone else. Yeah. And this guy passes us and he's like, huh, Santa's here? And we're like, oh, yeah.
He didn't notice Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah. Which is funny because Jeff Goldblum looks like a celebrity to me.
Yeah.
Now that I've seen him in the flesh.
It was cool though because he was talking to the Santa guy and it seemed like he wasn't like stressed out or trying to like avoid people or anything. I feel like if we said something, he probably would have maybe said hello. Yeah,
but I'm sure he gets stopped all the time, but he probably is really good at being like, oh yeah, that's really nice, thank you, and just walks away.
Yeah.
Okay, getting back to this though. Also there's Cate Blanchett, who is in Lord of the Rings.
Galadriel.
Plays Galadriel in Lord of the Rings. She is also in Blue Jasmine. She is also in The Aviator. That's Cate Blanchett.
Okay.
She's in so much stuff. And if you don't know who she is,
you're an insane person. Yeah. And here's a flaming hot opinion.
Yeah.
And Rebecca, you are not going to like this. I don't think she's good in this movie. And not just because her character is really not that well written. I think she's a little too twirly mustachy.
Yeah.
I don't like her performance in the movie, and I love Cate Blanchett.
Me too.
I'm not throwing down with her. I'm just saying I don't think this is a very good performance. It's like a 6 out of 10.
Yeah,
just like this movie, 6 out of 10.
Last person because he's in it a lot. Carl Urban, who plays the guy with the machine gun, guns. He plays Bones in Star Trek, the Star Trek movies.
Oh,
he also plays Éomer in Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
Theoden's nephew, right? Because he's their uncle. And then he's just in a lot of TV shows. He's a face that everyone recognizes without even knowing that they're recognizing him. He's always really good. I think he was very funny in this movie.
Okay, I was gonna ask you that because
I thought he was funny.
I didn't really like him in the movie.
Okay, I thought his character was interesting because
the character was.
He was like a Wormtongue character, and I'm just like a sucker for those kinds of characters.
Yes, I liked all of that. I didn't like the humor with him. I didn't feel like he could carry it, but I don't know if that's why I didn't like the humor or if the jokes weren't that funny to me on him.
I think that the bit at the beginning of the movie when he is like the gatekeeper and he's impressing these women with all of this earth stuff that he has.
Yeah.
I think that's such a funny bit.
Yeah. Maybe it just doesn't work for me.
That's fine, I guess. But yeah. Okay, let's talk about the movie.
Okay. So the movie opens and Thor is hanging chained in a basket in a hellscape. That's what I like to call it. And right off the bat, he's talking to the skeleton, and it its jaw kind of breaks open in the middle of him talking because he's saying like, "Why am I here? What happened?" Why, don't have to narrate everything he said, but I'm covering the details because then he gets let go and he talks to this big fiery demon that's really big.
I forget what that guy's name was.
I don't know if he said.
Okay.
I'm sure Thor was probably like, "Hey, Spookentang, you," And then he says he's going, "I'm going to bring Ragnarok upon Asgard,
Ragnarok
the end
means?
of days, the end of things."
Okay.
Is what Ragnarok means, and it's like this prophecy of like Asgard will be destroyed, and right away, Thor is hanging from this chain, and he gets spun around a little bit too far, and then he's like, "Wait, just wait a second, stop talking," and then he spins around, and he's like, "Okay, keep talking." Oh, hang on.
He's very overconfident because he's Thor.
And the reason I wanted to talk in that much detail is immediately I think this does what Taika wanted to do in that it establishes like this is not Thor 1 or 2 because the tone is so drastically different. This like comedy tone is because if this had been 1 or 2, there might have been a joke. It probably would have been more the like these are corny jokes, but they're more like situational comedy. The other one might have been like, "Hey, you're on fire. What do you boil water around these parts or something?"
Have you read
And then it would have been much more like intense, probably that scene where it's right now it's played for laughs.
Have you read any Thor comics?
No, I haven't.
Curious to know if they're naturally funny or not.
Oh yeah,
I don't get that impression.
Go to our page if you've read a Thor comic, and then you're just going to click 5 stars on our iTunes, and then you write a review and just say if they're naturally funny or not, so we know.
Thanks.
And subscribe. So establish a new tone, and then he escapes. His hammer comes, and we hear the bam ba da ba na ba 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 na ba na. He fights out of this hellscape, and as he goes, he keeps asking for Heimdall to come and transport him back, the Watcher, who's Idris Elba, and nothing's happening. And then finally he gets transported.
Not by him, though.
Yeah, and he comes into the thing. This huge dragon is chasing him, which looks really cool.
Yeah, he looks great.
And then the portal closes just in time to where it cuts the dragon's head off and squirts like green goop all over.
Green and purple, but not mixed together.
Yes, you said.
I'm curious how they did that.
Yeah,
that was
I don't
real.
know.
That was
it was practical blood and guts.
Cool.
And then that one guy is at the gate
impressing these women, and then all the blood gets on them and they scream and run out.
Yeah.
What's funny is right before that he was showing him how the shake weight.
Yeah, he
Very
was
funny.
So yeah, all this, we're in the first like 5 minutes and we go, okay, this is pretty different from the other Thor movies. And by the way, we both saw this in theaters together for the listener. We always say where we saw the movie. And I remember thinking that was a fun movie, but it wasn't a good movie.
Which movie? This movie?
Yes.
Okay.
And then I watched it again and I was like, actually, that's a good movie. And it's better than just fun. And then we watched it this time and I settled right in the middle. Where I'm like, it's a pretty okay movie.
You know why this movie is automatically better than the other ones, too? Aside from the Earth thing, that obviously makes it better. They got rid of his ethnically and like not just ethnic, but like perfect team of people where he's got all the ethnic people. He's got a woman. He's got a fat guy. He's got a skinny guy. He's got a funny guy.
And then the one guy that has the thick Asian accent.
He's got the one Asian person.
Yeah.
They just, I think they even killed those people.
Yeah, they killed one of them at least.
Yeah.
I'm a little bummed about that personally.
Especially I don't care.
With him and Sif, who's the girl that they keep talking about.
No, they had to get rid of it because that was one of the big problems in the Dark World. Because it's just like, obviously him and Natalie Portman are like together. Like they're perfect. Like that is how they have created it. I'm not saying they're great together, but they have created it that way. Why provide sexual attention to this other woman who clearly he has no feelings for?
Yes,
so terrible.
You are right. But I just want to say, for me, I just wish that Sif was like given her due, because Jane has too much to do in these movies. And she's not very good, as we've previously discussed. And then we get to this movie, and they're just like, they cancel them both out.
Yeah.
And there's not really an explanation. They just do like a throwaway line where someone in New York is like, sorry that Jane broke up with you, Thor.
Yeah.
Which, anytime there's a line like that and the actor isn't in the movie, I was like, oh, cool. So they did not sign the last contract, and they didn't want to be in this. So I'm still like shocked that she signed on to do Thor 4 because
they must have just paid her a ridiculous amount of money.
It just seems like she doesn't care about the franchise. So anyway, maybe she's excited to work with Taika after seeing Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah,
that could make sense. So then we find out that Heimdall is a traitor and he's been locked away.
Why? I don't remember that.
Well, remember it's because Loki got rid of him.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why he wasn't at the gate. So then Thor shows up and there's this play happening that's all about Loki and Odin is watching it. And it stars Matt Damon as Loki in the play. Some guy we don't know as Thor, and then someone
that's fine.
Well, and then someone dressed as Odin in the play walks out, and it's Sam Neill from Jurassic Park. So we have the main characters of Jurassic Park in this movie. Very funny scene. And
funny.
Then we find out
because they're uncredited.
Yeah, we find out that while Thor's been gone, Loki has abdicated the throne and become the king of Asgard. I really hope I used that word right. That would have sounded so good. Usurped the throne, and he's used his deceitful powers to look like Odin. And the thing that's kind of weird is, remember in Thor 2, he quote unquote dies.
Who?
Loki.
Okay.
And then at the end of the movie, he shows up and you see that he took over the throne.
Yeah.
This movie doesn't really, I think it's again kind of like a Jane thing where they're like, oh, you know that I didn't really die, silly brother. And you're kind of like, what? What? You're not gonna, I don't know. Sometimes I'm, as like a fan of these movies, and I don't think they should have spent a lot of time on it, but I'm like, couldn't they have spent like, just even like a little bit of time just so that I'm not like, how did he live?
Maybe
I'm like a little bit
Thor
confused.
movies are the most throwaway of all of the Marvel movies.
Yeah, but like this one's pretty, I think it's pretty, you need to watch it before Infinity War to get that full.
I'm talking about specifically the Thor franchise.
Oh, okay.
Just that.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, you could probably, or at least lower the ranking of it. If you were like, I only want to watch the main movies, you could probably get away with just Captain and Iron Man and Avengers. Yeah. Really. Those are like the main characters. So then he threatens Loki, and then he's like, where's Odin? And then they transport to New York, and there's a retirement home that's being destroyed. And he's like, I left him right here. Which also is confusing to me because I'm like, so you're saying Odin just like, oh, he was in a spell. They do explain that.
They say
later.
that. I didn't even think about it. This is the kind of stuff a lot of times like Marvel movies where it's just like, okay.
Yeah.
For some reason, sometimes I just like don't even, I just tune out these things.
Yeah.
Because I think part of it, like you're saying, is they're just explaining, they're just merging the movie previous to this one. Yeah. And sometimes I'm just kind of like, I'll check out for 10 minutes.
Well, and sometimes you get into the like Vision and Scarlet Witch thing where you're just like, huh? Well, why are these people together? Exactly. And then it just like, they explain it in like a line because.
What I want from the movies is like, obviously they need to be consequential to the other movies, but like also just start the movie and just move forward. I understand that you can't always do that. I understand that. They've created quite a big web of this.
Yes.
But like, it would just go. Just start and take off.
Yeah.
Guardians 2 does that.
Guardians 2 does
they're obviously, because it's consequential to the other ones, there is like a little bit of that kind of stuff of setup and mentions, but it just takes off though.
Yeah. There's just like good ways to do it and bad ways. I wouldn't even put this one in the category of bad. But I think about Spider-Man Far From Home, and remember how it starts and Betty is doing a news report, the school news report, and it talks about the blip.
Yes.
And Tony Stark. So right away, I remember Grayson hadn't seen Avengers, and I told him the spoilers before he went and saw Spider-Man so that he could go. And he was like, I think I would have been fine without the spoilers. Because it explained it that well in the movie.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
And so that's an example of doing it really well. And they use a device in the movie. So that's just a great movie. I love that movie. But we're not there yet. We'll be there in December. That's when we'll be there. So then they visit Doctor Strange, and he, this is just, it's kind of fun that the characters are all together. And then they find Odin. And Odin explains that he was under a spell and that he's ready to die. He's been hanging out in Norway and he says that, Ragnarok is coming, and then your sister, who's the firstborn, is coming to destroy Asgard. And the Loki and Thor go, what? How many what now?
Yeah.
You're saying we got a sis? And then she immediately shows up right at the same time, and she's like, dang, I missed my father dying. She has an outfit that I think you might have some strong opinions about. Hella.
Yeah. I like the colors, just black and green.
Cool
That's
colors,
fine.
yeah.
I think that it's... I understand. I think they chose utility over grandiose.
Yeah.
Something, which is fine. What?
Well, sorry. No, go ahead.
But I think that... I don't even think it's like sexy. That's not even what I'm saying. Like, I mean, it shows her figure, but it's like, she's a woman. How is...
Yeah.
She has hips, sorry. But it's just like very...
Don't apologize.
It's very bland to me. I think that her head thing is cool.
Yeah.
But that's it.
I don't like how she pulls her hair back, though, and it like appears. I think that looks
I don't really
stupid.
have an opinion about that.
Yeah.
But I like the head thing is cool, but that's like the only intricate part about her.
Yeah.
And I just think like, it's like, man, if you're going to be a goddess, you should just have a dumb, ridiculous outfit.
Yeah.
That's cool. Like, for me, it's like, I understand, especially when you do live action, you want to kind of make it like you look at it and you understand how it works. I'm a fan of that. But when they're like gods and goddesses and this is like folklore stuff, like just go all out and be dumb about it. That's kind of like when they get to that world, the Grand Master world, which it's chaos there.
Like everything looks nuts there.
That's how you look and you're like, I don't understand how that works.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
For like, I would be fine with that if they spent a little bit more time with that. But I think they went more with just
practicality.
But
the funny thing is about going practicality is she doesn't, like Cate Blanchett herself doesn't like actually do any stunts in the movie.
No.
Because they have this weird CGI like person doing it all.
And also...
And it looks really
her outfit,
bad.
I think if we looked at it, you would see that it's kind of that mesh material. That's what it looks like. And it's like, sure, she could have that. Why not, I guess? But like, she's thousands of years old. Why couldn't you make her look like more like why can't you make her not updated? Because she's really old. She's been like gone for a really long time.
Like a cool ancient garb or something.
Yeah, she like shows up and she's wearing like a cool, like a breathable mesh outfit.
Well, think about like do you remember Black Panther's mom in Black Panther?
Not really.
She has like this
she's wearing like
crazy cool dress on that's like huge and like this huge like African hat. I mean, all the costumes. I mean, no wonder they won Best Costume. Like all the costumes in that movie are like really flamboyant.
And they
cool.
did a lot of it, I feel like, because of cultural significance. This movie, they should have done that for Celtic cultural significance.
That'd have been cool.
And they can still like add color to it. Because I'm sure that Celtic folklore, anything just looks so depressing and boring. In terms of visuals. So they could have like made it a little bit more interesting to look at, but like they're Celtic people. Like Thor even has a kind of a ridiculous outfit.
Yeah.
You know, like, and it looks cool. Also, it just still looks like believable that he would wear something like that.
Yeah.
So I kind of wish that they spent more time
flamboyant.
on her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if she acts flamboyant.
I actually don't totally like, I kind of like her costume. I'm not as like crazy about it. It is confusing though that they went practicality when she's like a CGI when she fights. The fight scenes with her are like hard to watch a little bit. They're so ugly.
Well, I don't know if it's because...
Couldn't they have just hired a stunt woman?
I'm just confused because it's like, did you not have money for that? Which isn't true.
No, because it would have cost more to have be a body. That's why I'm confused. It's a fake body, which costs more than a stunt man doing it. Because the stunts are not crazy. It's just a couple of flips. Like,
and you know, in our Guardians episode, we did mention how when they use CGI, it's like cartoony. But that has that movie has a tone that allows that. This movie, even though it was funnier, I don't think it has that tone still, especially with the Asgard stuff. So that's why it looks worse, I think. Yeah.
This sounds like I really don't like the movie. I like the movie. Yeah. It's a 6 out of 10 for me. It's just the Hella stuff as I really have not been able to connect with all 3 times I've watched it.
Let's get to the parts that we do like.
So as they're fighting her, they get beamed back to Asgard, but she fights them hammer. Off of it.
She destroys his hammer.
Yes, that's a very pivotal part. Thank you for remembering.
So Thor's like, I have no more powers.
I'm Thor. You know? And then she shoves him off the Rainbow Bridge as they're headed back up there, and Loki and him both land on Sakaar, which is a trash planet. And this is where you can tell that Taika is into this section of the movie, because everything on Sakaar is like 7 to 8 out of 10. Like,
and a lot of it's practical.
So good. The designs are cool, the planet's cool, and the story on Sakaar is awesome. And so you have, like, he crash lands, and then there's these junkers that kind of that wear, again, cool designs that try and capture Thor. And then Valkyrie, who's Tessa Thompson, she shows up, and I love when she shows up because it kind of it subverts expectations quite a bit, because she walks out of her spaceship and she goes, "That guy is mine."
And she's drunk.
And she's kind of doing like the sexy dance.
No, she's drunk.
No, I know.
Oh, okay.
She's doing like kind of like she's starting to do like the sexy girl superhero walk. Yeah. And then she just falls off of her runway into garbage because she's drunk.
Oh, sorry. I forgot about that.
And I just think it's so funny because I that had to be a conscious decision of them being like, the audience has seen the quote sexy girl get out. Let's like give her an actual characteristic and make her a person instead of just an object. And lo and behold, she's she's up in like the top 3 most interesting characters in this movie.
Yep.
Because she rules.
Yep, and she has a good arc.
Really good arc.
Good, so you find out she's a Valkyrie, which is like a all women
fighting force
in Asgard, who have pretty much gone extinct because of Hela, Kate Blanchett. Yeah. And what?
I want to pipe in, but I want you to finish.
And so it's a really cool, this kind of stuff I really like that they've been doing more. And I kind of hope they would do more of it going forward, is that like hyper slow-mo, and it looks like a picture.
It looks like a painting.
Or a painting.
Yeah.
And everything's moving very slowly.
And she's riding a Pegasus.
Yeah. And it's just little snapshots of the battle, seeing all of her like family get killed. And then she's here now, and what she does is she brings contestants to Jeff Goldblum,
who's the Grandmaster, to fight.
And you understand why she drinks all the time. Yeah, because she's trying to forget what happened.
And like, because the honorable thing to do would be to go back to Asgard, but she has too much shame and she doesn't want to.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to pipe in is in that scene where Thor's like, "Wait, you're a Valkyrie?" And he finds out a little bit later. I'm jumping ahead, but we're talking about her arc. When he does that, I felt it was just so funny because I related to what he was saying. And he goes, "Oh, that's like the all-female fighting force in Valkyrie." Yeah. And he's like, which, I'm all about, like, having... hang on a second. He's like, saying like, having like girls fight for us, that's great. Like, you can totally do that. I love that and all that stuff. But the way he says it is, it's like, okay, you don't have to clarify. And I just felt as a man, like when I talk about a movie that's like all girls or something, I think sometimes I might come across that way. And I don't mean to, but I'm just like, no, it's really cool.
Well, he says that he's like, I've always wanted to be a Valkyrie. Until, of course, I found out that it's only women, which is great. That's fine.
Yeah. And I totally related to that idea where you're kind of like, oh, I'm backed in a corner, but I just mean to say I support you. Like, I'm into this.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't need your support. And
I'm like,
yeah, no, I get
it. I get it.
Just stop talking. Anyway, I just wanted to pipe that in.
So she gets Thor, takes him to Grandmaster, and we meet Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah.
That's when we discover that Loki's there. So Thor's a prisoner. Loki is like integrated himself into the high society.
Yes.
Through his like mischief and smooth ways. Because you imagine that he got there the same way, but he talked his way into not dying.
Yeah.
Talked his way out of not dying. And what's cool is when Thor is like, before he meets the Grandmaster, he's like kind of in this chair and there's this narration happening.
And it plays the "Come With Me"
Willy Wonka song. Yeah. Gene Wilder is that guy's name, right?
It's whose name?
Willy Wonka.
Yes.
The other day we were trying to remember what his name was.
Oh, yeah, we couldn't remember.
Gene Wilder.
Yes.
I love Gene Wilder so much.
Great. Oh, we got to I keep on forgetting to get Bride of Frankenstein. You wanted to watch that.
Yes. Oh, I love.
Keep talking. I'm going to get it from the library right now.
So that song's playing. And then the narration is just an interesting choice because it's just a very like normal girl's voice. And that's because you would think it'd be computerized and it's not. I just am like so fascinated with like why they chose that voice. Like it almost sounds, it's like it sounds as normal as mine, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's interesting. So then meets Grandmaster. It's Jeff Goldblum doing Jeff Goldblum. Why would we even imitate it? And it's very funny.
Yeah. And every scene with him is just so funny. And he's just, I mean, it is truly like they said, they just let him do whatever they want. I mean, I'm sure they have
whatever he wants.
Probably like, yes, like hours of footage of him just standing there saying strange things. And
what's crazy is if you're like a little unfamiliar with Jeff Goldblum, watch his Hot Ones interview
on YouTube. Oh my gosh.
Listen to his Conan Needs a Friend podcast, and he's a guest on it.
Yeah.
Listen to that, and you listen to it and watch it, and you are like, oh, so when he's in Thor Ragnarok, he's
not acting. They just put makeup and a costume on him,
and they said talk.
Yeah.
Just like you need to get from point A to point B. How you get there, we don't care.
And they're doing shots where you're just looking at him and he's doing stuff like and no dialogue. I mean, that's how good he soaks up the camera.
What is he saying? It's so funny. He's like, I guess I'll just make it up, but he's like, yeah, you know, those one people and like what we did with them one time. And he looks at Thor as if he's about to explain it. But all he does is he looks at him and he's like, well, yeah, you know. Yeah.
and he plays music when he's talking to Thor. He walks to a synthesizer and he's playing music. So he's a musician.
And then he has this like melting staff. And there's this other guy in a chair next to Thor who has super cool makeup on.
Very cool.
And Jeff Goldblum touches him with the stick and the man melts. He like smokes and melts.
And the whole time
he's like screaming about how much it hurt. And Thor's just like, he's screaming watching it. Yeah. It's so terrifying.
And then the Grand Master has this like side, like his right hand man is this woman who we're pretty sure is from New Zealand. And she's really into like violence and conflict. Like the whole movie, whenever he's doing something violent, her eyes light up.
Well, like,
and it's so funny.
When Tessa Thompson brings Thor and he's like, I don't remember what her name is. Let's just call her Sally. He's like, Sally, what do we always say about her? It starts with a B, and she's like trash. He's like, that doesn't even start with a B. And the whole time it's just like, for some reason she hates Tessa Thompson, but they never show it.
Explain it. I love it.
It's so funny.
So
Thor is a contestant. He is taken to the like waiting area,
and he meets a rock person who's played by the director of the movie.
What's his name again?
Taika Waititi.
No,
I know. I don't know what his name is.
I have it right here.
And he's talking to. I mean, it's
Korg.
just Korg. Korg or Cork?
Korg with a G.
Okay, is it Korg?
Yes.
Okay. I was wondering if it was a C or a K. That's why I asked.
And he just is, it's this big rock guy, and he just has this adorable New Zealand little like voice, very soft.
He's
I'm just
so
looking
funny.
at Taika Waititi's pictures on.
I mean,
He's so funny.
There's not really. I mean, I don't know really what to, because it's like we could go through the jokes.
He's just he's a rock person, and he's so gentle. And he says that he tried starting a revolution, but he didn't print out enough pamphlets. And you're just like, where would he print the... Never mind. Yeah. So that's super funny. He kind of explained a little bit of how this all works for Thor. And Thor's like, well, I'm a god, so I'm going to get out. And then Korg's like, oh, yeah, okay. Sure.
Yeah. And then he's like, see you later, new Doug, because the last person that was in was named Doug, and he tried to like win, and he got killed by... What we find out is... the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah. So Thor is getting ready to fight the Grandmaster's big dude, and his hair is cut, which is a big thing.
By the one and only creator of Thor himself, Stan Lee.
Yes. And very, very funny scene. Good cameo.
Yeah, good cameo.
Hair's cut, looks a million times better personally to me.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. You know what's funny is I think I got to a point where I was like, another Stan Lee cameo. But now having fallen back in love with Marvel, reading comic books like crazy, and then after his unfortunate death, not unfortunate, it was a normal death, but I mean, it's sad that he died. I find those moments like so fun each time now.
Yeah.
They're like more fun than they were when I first saw them.
Yeah.
Now that I am watching it. So anyway, go ahead.
Well, then his hair gets cut and he goes out to the big arena. And Loki is up in the box with Jeff Goldblum to watch it. And he sees that Thor sees that it's Hulk is the Grandmaster's big dude. And he's just so excited because he's like, we're friends from work. Like, I know this guy. Yeah. And then you see that it's not Bruce Banner. It's Hulk.
It's just
Which means
Hulk.
So he can't he's trying to talk to him and be like, dude, calm down. Like, it's me. You know who I am. But he doesn't know who he is. You know, like he's Hulk. He is not Bruce Banner.
And what's kind of wild is they fight and Thor has an electric implant on his neck. Mm-hmm. And had the fight continued, Thor would have beat him. So Thor is actually more powerful than Hulk, which is kind of nuts. Mm-hmm. Like he has that much power.
And the reason why the fight is stopped is because he is about to kill, or he wouldn't kill him, but incapacitate Hulk and Jeff Goldblum. Because he is like the ruler of this world, mm-hmm. and he's very corrupt. And he's like, the Hulk's my dude, no one can beat him. Oh no, someone's about to beat him. Fight's over, guys.
Yeah.
So
and but and then we flash back to Hela. And she's at Asgard. She's made, she's had kind of a revolt, and then the one guy has turned into the Wormtongue, like he's helping her.
Yeah.
And Heimdall's off, like collecting the Asgardians and helping them live and hide in the mountains. And then she goes into the main palace, and she's been kind of hinting a little bit at how like the whole kingdom was built on lies, and I just think this theme is not hit hard enough. Mm-mm. Do you agree? Mm-hmm. Because then she just kind of walks in and she does the like everything's fake in here. She pulls down the ceiling with all the like moving
historical artwork,
and it sees that her and Odin were like conquering all these worlds like by force,
yeah,
years earlier. And I feel like it kind of, I don't know,
I feel like it could be much more impactful, her entire storyline, because like Thor didn't know he had a sister.
Yeah.
Suddenly he found out he has a sister. Doesn't seem fazed by it.
You know what? I think maybe could have made this a whole heck of a lot better is if there was some sort of scene maybe between Loki and Thor where they reconciled with two facts that they had a sister. Because I think they just kind of are like, oh, we got a sister, whatever.
Well, Loki's technically not his brother, but...
Yeah, but I think they could have this like heart-to-heart moment is what I mean. Like a scene where they do that. And then in that same scene where Thor could maybe even question like... Because he kind of goes over the whole entire... Like when he finds out that it's just the people of Asgard, he kind of realizes that why is my Do Not Disturb not working?
Because your phone's open.
Ugh, that's annoying. A scene where Loki and him also discuss how, like, maybe Thor doesn't want to fight for Asgard or something because he's confused about what its origins were. Or,
to play on that, because, the end of the movie, he realizes it's not the place he was saving, it was the people. Mm-hmm. Maybe it'd be interesting if he came to that on his own conclusion, or if he still had that conversation with Idris Elba about it. And at some point in the movie, that's his turning point of like, because he finds out that this kingdom is built on violence and death, and he thinks like, okay, I'm going to take these people away from it.
Yes, that's
kind of playing on your idea.
Yes, and also just I would like to see how he reacts to the fact that his father is not who he thinks he is. Mm-hmm. Because he never really reacts to that. He's just like, dang, my dad died.
My dad just disappeared like a Jedi.
Yeah.
Because he reached enlightenment, I guess.
And I just want to see, because this movie actually like shows that Odin is maybe not such a great guy. Mm-hmm. But they don't really address that. They just address that Hela's bad, but not that Odin's bad. And I think that's kind of what's lacking from
It's like he's too easily forgiven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they don't even like address if he even needs forgiveness. They're just like, yeah, he did that, but he changed. Whatever. We have the whole sequence with Thor and Hulk hanging out in their room together, and he's basically trying to calm him down and be like, we know each other. We fought together.
We need to go back to Earth. And Hulk's like, no, I'm staying here. Because this to him has become like I think he mentions like people on Earth hate Hulk. Mm-hmm. People on here love Hulk. Yeah. Why would I leave?
Yeah.
So Thor's like, fine, I'm going to leave myself. And so he tries to leave. He can't. Tessa Thompson shows up. He's trying to convince her to help him leave, to also get her to leave too, because like she's Valkyrie. Like you have motivation to leave. And then they all get out of there. They like Hulk like grabs him, like jumps out the window.
Yeah.
No.
Well, he removes
No.
the
What
device.
happens is Thor gets out because he steals the neck taser thing from Tessa, and he goes to the ship that Hulk came here in.
Yeah.
Because it's a Avenger ship. So he's like, cool, I'll fly back. So he's trying to get it to work. Meanwhile, Hulk finds him and like destroys the fish. The fish. I'm not even thinking about fish. The ship, because he's huge.
Yeah. Wait, did you already say that that's the ship from Ultron that he got?
Yeah, it's the Avenger ship. That the Hulk got here in.
From Age of Ultron. Yeah. I'm getting the look.
I'm just kidding. A video of Black Widow shows up, and that's what gets Hulk to turn back into Bruce.
Yeah, which I like.
Me too. I love that.
Yeah.
So he has not been Bruce Banner for a very long time. So he doesn't even know where he is.
Well, it's been 2 years since he's been Bruce Banner.
Yeah, so he's very confused. They do such a funny thing where he's naked because he's a normal size again.
Yeah.
And the only clothes that he has are Tony Stark's clothes. Uh-huh. And he keeps pulling at his crotch. And it's just,
these pants are so tight.
It's such a funny joke, and he does it like most of the rest of the movie.
Ruffalo is really good in this movie.
He's so funny. Yeah. He's got some. I think at one point I was like, "This guy's watched The Office."
yeah.
He's doing
he definitely
good camera
has
takes.
like some gym in him.
Yeah. So then they find Tessa. They find Loki. Oh, also meanwhile, with all this going on, Jeff Goldblum's like, my Hulk is gone. Everyone go find him.
Yeah.
And I'll give you a reward. So they're trying to escape, although it's not hard for Bruce because he's now Bruce.
Yeah, but what's hard is he's like, okay, we'll just get out of here. And then he says that whole thing and he's like, I just have to make sure nothing stresses me out. They go around the corner and there is like
a Hulk parade.
A Hulk parade, and there's green people everywhere, and the Hulk mask and face on billboards and stuff. And he's like,
Yeah. And then Tessa Thompson finds them and is like, come with me. They go to her place.
Yeah, she's like, I'm going to help you now.
Yeah. And you see that she has Loki.
Yes, yeah.
And then what's interesting about this is Bruce, I'm trying not to say his name, Bruce has not seen Loki since of the first Avengers.
Yeah, and he's
last time I saw you were trying to kill everybody.
Yeah.
So he's very just like apprehensive the whole time around him.
Yeah.
Which is just so well acted. And
Love it.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
So it's great that they kept all that stuff.
Yeah. And then basically they all break out. And
on one of the Grandmaster's orgy ships. So there's a part. I love the song. It's so weird. They press a button.
It was the song he was playing on the synth earlier in the movie.
But it's like, it's my birthday.
Oh yeah,
so funny.
No, yeah, it is different.
It's so gross.
Yeah. By the way, the soundtrack to this, or the score to this movie, is awesome.
Yep.
So good.
Yep.
Like this is totally like maybe even a workout or like a study soundtrack. I feel like where you're like, I got to get some stuff done.
Yeah.
And they steal that. Then they show up to Asgard, to the final showdown of Hela, and they fight on the Rainbow Bridge, which is a cool set. I like the fight there.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah.
They have the ghost soldiers, which is dumb, I think. I don't like the ghost soldiers.
It's so crazy how much it's from Lord of the Rings. And I'm not saying they ripped it off. I'm not saying that.
No.
Because I'm sure this is all from comic books.
Yeah.
And not even saying the comic books ripped it off, but it's just funny that all the people escape to a mountain, which is what they did in Helm's Deep. They all escape through a mountain. And then she resurrects the dead army And they do the same thing in the Return of the King. And I think there was another thing that I was like, oh, that's kind of, the worm tongue thing to me just reminds me of like, that's, but also it's
and
like
2 actors from Lord of the Rings.
This is just like story devices.
Yeah.
It's not, it can't be ripping off. I just think it's funny because it is folklore.
The ghost army is on the good guys in Lord of the Rings.
Right. But then there's this thing that...
And there's this huge wolf. It's
the
so
wolf's cool.
big. I love
like the wolf. So then this thing happens that Mike and I like have a problem with is when... So Thor's down there fighting now. And then Bruce is like, I can help.
Yeah.
And he's like, basically like, I'll turn back into the Hulk. And I'll be the Hulk.
Yeah.
So he jumps out of the ship as Bruce.
From like, I don't know, 200 feet.
And then just lands on the bridge as Bruce. But like not just lands, like he collides and like, oh, that guy broke his neck.
That guy is dead.
Because the thing is when he is, and maybe we're wrong. I don't know. I haven't read comic books. But like when he's Bruce, he is a human being. So if I'm assuming
if you
he could break his arm as easily as I can break my arm.
Yeah. That's what I would think as well. It's kind of weird. It's a scene that's played for laughs, and I just wish it wasn't there. I just wish he landed as the Hulk and fights, because I just don't think it's worth the joke.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things, but it's easy to look past too. So I have the big fight. And what's crazy is Hela comes and she cuts out Thor's eye. Mm-hmm. And then they're fighting, and she
meanwhile,
has
this whole time he's still like, because he doesn't have his hammer, he thinks, he's inadequate.
Yeah. And then there's this great scene. This I love. This is like
when he goes to his dad.
When he goes. She says, "What were you the god of again?" Is what she says, and then it flashes to him in Norway, and there's this drum that's like boom, and it zooms in on Odin, and then they're talking, and he's like, Odin's like, "Why do you think the hammer gives you your power? The power's always been within you. The hammer was just to
was just a channel for it.
The channel." And then it flashes back, and she says it again. What were you the god of again? And then lightning starts sparking from his fingertips, and then thunder comes down, or lightning comes down, and thunder, and then it like shoots her, and then and he goes to the bridge, and he's just wreaking havoc on everybody, but he still can't beat Hela with all that. And then he goes, "Yo,"
well, it's almost to me as if it has to be the prophecy fulfilled.
Yeah, because remember, Ragnarok was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
So then, does he tell Loki to go to the museum?
Yes.
I think it's Loki.
Yeah, no, it's him. Yep, because he takes the like crown thing of that guy from the beginning of the movie, puts it in the eternal flame. Yeah,
and then the big monster from the beginning starts destroying Ragnarok. They round up all the people onto the ship.
Get on a ship.
The one guy from Lord of the Rings.
Oh, what?
It like sneaks onto the ship as a pedestrian with like hooded, because he's a traitor to their side.
So the thing is the reason why they got this giant ship, because it's not the ship that they came on. Korg and the little bug dude and some other people from Sakaar, because there's a mutiny going on at Sakaar and the Grey Master's being taken over. And so they steal a ship, like a really big ship, and they go to Asgard, and they're kind of like a sort of an ex machina for them.
Yeah.
Because it's like, where are we going to go? Here's a giant ship with all of the Korg, the rock dude and everyone. And then that character, the Wormtongue character, they see him and he's like, "Hey, you want to come on our ship?"
Oh, I didn't catch that.
I'm pretty sure that's how it happened. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what it sounded like. Could have said that to Loki too, but I don't think so.
Because he sneaks on though.
Yeah, he does.
And then they're getting attacked still, and he's like, "I got to do this," and he takes out his guns, and he dies valiantly by Hela's hand. Mm-hmm. And then the big fiery monster kills Hela, and
Asgard's destroyed, because that's the fulfilling the prophecy.
Yeah,
and that's when Idris is like, "It's not the place, it's the people."
And they all float away, and they're like, basically, it's like, this is going to be great.
And they're like, where are we going to go to? And then they decide to go to Earth. Well, that's the decision on this ship is made. Yeah, that they'll go to Earth.
And then you cut to mid-credit sequence. A big ship is in front of them, or in front of them, and we'll find out later it's Thanos, and he's about to kill just about everyone on that ship, which means Asgard's pretty much done.
Yep. Truly as a people.
Yeah. And then what happens in the post credit scene? I think it's just a goof scene. Oh, the Grandmaster is getting arrested for staging all the people revolting.
He comes out of his ship and he's like,
you can't have a tyrant, or you can't.
Really good revolution, guys. We couldn't have done this without all of us. Without a grandmaster.
He's like, he says like, you can't have a revolution without a tyrant. So let's call it a tie, and then it cuts to black.
That's right. It's so funny. Yeah.
So, I think in general, I do think that there's a lot of bad in the movie, and the bad is like a 5 out of 10, but the good is like a 7 or 8. So it evens to a 6 for me. I love all the stuff on Sakaar. I think that the stuff on Asgard is not great until the very ending, and then it's really cool.
When the prophecy is fulfilled, I guess.
Yeah, and I like how the prophecy is like fulfilled in that way. It's interesting.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't think it's the best. It's probably my least favorite of Phase 3 movies.
That's not true.
Oh, Ant-Man and the Wasp. I always forget. That movie doesn't even exist to me.
I know.
I
wish
movie.
I could pretend that it didn't. But now we're doing this podcast, which means I have to watch it again.
I know. I was hoping never to watch it again. And then we had this good idea. We said, hey, I have an idea. We're putting together a team.
Yeah. Usually when you don't like something that makes for good content, like good like podcast, I don't think that's going to be a good episode. Well, no, I'm probably going to be in a bad mood the whole time.
But our Ant-Man episode was really good. And that movie is maybe worse than Ant-Man and the Wasp. I mean,
I don't know, because the villain was so terrible.
Yeah, but remember in Ant-Man and the Wasp, you do have that like whole last sequence where the action is cool, where they're doing the car chase and Tim Heidecker's in it, so.
Yeah. Then they talk, whatever. I don't want to talk about it right now.
So as far as the future, Thor is coming out with another movie. It was announced at Comic-Con.
Directed by Taika.
Thor, Love and Thunder, and Natalie Portman is returning.
As the woman Thor.
I don't really know what that means. I don't know. It's kind of a whatever announcement to me. Let's see. Does it say when it's coming out? November 5th, 2021. So we got 2 years for that one. And I did see this. I hope this isn't true. Kat Dennings reportedly returning as Darcy for Thor, Love and Thunder.
What's the source?
Pink Villa.
Oh, that could be a rumor then.
Yeah. Well, you know what's funny? I don't think I've ever told you about this, but I Google Star Wars just about every day, just see if there's any news. And for I'm not kidding you, every single new movie that they've come out with, every single one of them, they have reported that Thomas Hayden Christian is gonna Anakin Skywalker is going to be in the movie.
Weird.
Like reportedly, he's been seen on set or something. They've said it for Force Awakens. They've said it for Last Jedi, and they're saying it for Rise of Skywalker. I think they even said it for Rogue One.
Why would they do that?
They're always like those are the reports, and they're saying it again this time, and I'm like, he's not going to be in the movie. It wouldn't make any sense. And like, who would they be appeasing? Like, because nobody likes his performance. So it'll be funny though because when this podcast comes out, the movie will be out. So maybe people will be like, Micah, you got egg on your face. But we're going to track the arc on Thor's character when we get into Avengers Endgame, because that's kind of when his arc has completed for the series up to now. Thank you for listening. Next week is Black Panther.
Cool.
So that's going to be fun. Pretty refreshing,
I got some hot
too.
opinions about that movie.
You do? I really like Black Panther.
I really like it too, but it's not perfect.
No, it's definitely not perfect. But it won some Oscars.
Definitely not
that
perfect.
Also doesn't mean that it's good. Anyway.
It's impressive, though.
Yes, I don't know when this is coming out, but I know I have a song out called The Dance, and I might have my second single released by now.
Dang, cool.
I'm not sure. I didn't look at the calendar before we recorded. So if I do, check it out on all the things, please. Thank you. Adios, amigos.